I'll try to help you any way I can.
Greg, you obviously the program, you've been doing this long enough, so you probably have history with almost anything, but Rutgers did lose to New Hampshire at one point, Villanova at one point. Do you bring those up? And not only those, but then obviously even this season, Montana over Washington, East Tennessee State over Vanderbilt, Jacksonville State over Florida State. There is some history of FCS teams beating FBS teams.
Well, there is, and as you mentioned, Sean, I appreciate you making me go back to that.
Sorry.
But yeah, Sarge, there's been 8 FCS teams that beat FBS teams in the last 9 days. Now make it 10. Right? So you're foolish if you even think that way. Quite honestly, we don't need to talk about it. If you watched college football, which our guys do, it's very clear. And Delaware, they were one of the best 2 teams in the whole country last year. That's why they played in that game. And as you watch them, they're a good football team. They have good players on offense, good players on defense, and good players in the kicking game. So to me, just like it was for Temple and for Syracuse, it's about Rutgers getting ready, our team getting ready to be the best that we can be. And we certainly weren't on Saturday. You never are, right? But we weren't close to playing our best football. We need to get a lot closer to it than we were. So that's our goal. But we understand exactly what Delaware is. They're a very good football team.
Greg, what's been the key for the way your defense has played these first 2 games?
Well, I think they're doing their job. We have a saying, do your job, and what that means is when you do your job, the plays come to you. When you try to go make plays, generally you leave the confines of your job and you try to do something special, and that's where we get in trouble.
When you prepare for Delaware, do you treat them like a team that's playing their 10th game almost in the season, or do you treat it like you have all this film on them, or do you think that helps the FCS schools that they have played so much recently compared to you guys?
That's a great question, and I don't think a lot of people think of that, but I think that's really, and I don't know the answer, right? Because there's that gap in between, yet we're looking at the film as kind of continuous film. And it's weird, right? Because guys change numbers from the spring season to the fall. So that's the old number, but essentially the same football team. And like I said, they had great success in the spring, and now they're 2-0 in the fall. So when you look at the run that they've been on, it's a heck of a run, even though it's split up by a couple of months summer. But it's you try to see what did they change during the summer. Was there any kind of, and then are we going to see something different? One of the things that they play a similar structured defense that Syracuse played. They're different on how they do things, but at least the base structure is that 3-3 or the 3-5-3 look that we saw last week.
Greg, can you update us on Gavin's eligibility status, and is it possible that he could play this Saturday?
Gavin is eligible to do everything now. He's eligible to practice in full pads. He's eligible to dress for the games and everything. So he's an eligible player by NCAA rules.
Is it possible that he could play on Saturday?
Well, he's eligible, so everybody who's eligible
Sure.
is possible to play.
Okay.
Greg, how has he handled the transition? Because it's such a unique situation.
Well, I think we're still in the middle of it, Bobby. I mean, he's only been here for less than a week, right? So, or no, just over a week. But I think he's doing a good job of just finding his way. Get his books, get to class. He's been to some classes. He's kind of living college life now. But you can imagine it's like drinking out of a fire hose, right? One minute you're playing in a high school football game, and the next minute you're sitting in a college class. So we're just kind of helping him along, and I think the guys, really the players, have done a great job accepting him and helping him learn the ropes.
Does it change your recruiting approach? I mean, with so many players enrolling early, is that part of the pitch now? Do you have to kind of adjust it every year?
Well, there's only been 2 of them in the history of college football.
But I mean, just early enrollees in
going
general.
Forward, we got to think. The mid-year admission is almost the norm. Like I told you, our class 16, we were 2/3 January start and 1/3 June start. So that's already kind of transformed. The question is, will this become, when everybody started going in January a while back, that was like, oh, you can't believe it. Well, now everyone's that way right now a little bit with kids passing up their senior year, but is that going to become more normal? I don't know. It's awfully hard to manage your scholarships that way, though, really hard. So I think if you're going to do it, it's going to have to be, we were fortunate that we had one available to do it with. But that's going to have to really be factored into your roster management now. And I think it's going to have to be probably a little bit earlier in the process, knowing what young people want to do.
When you look at the way the offense is played, especially the other day against Syracuse, where do you feel like the biggest improvement that you guys want to make going into Delaware?
I don't think we're far off. We are 1 or 2 guys away, and I've always heard coaches say that, right? That's a famous saying by coaches. We're 1 or 2 guys away. Yeah, well, no kidding. They're 1 or 2 guys are making the play too. But I don't think we're as far. The area where we have to really, I think, get better is third down. We're not converting on third down. Now, part of that is, are we putting ourselves in good third down situations? But I actually think, for the most part, we have. Yeah, we've had a couple of third and longs, but we've been in kind of the wheelhouse we'd like to be. But we have to convert them more consistently. And I screwed one of them up. We should have went for the 4th down and 1. We were messing around.
With playing 6, 7, 8 offensive linemen, is that almost a necessity thing now? Or would you prefer to not have to mix and match like that?
I used to say I want that, the old thing, 5 and make a fist, and 5 are tough, and all the coach speak stuff. But there is truth to that. But also in this day of the transfer portal, and I think the more guys you can play, the better. And I guess if they're equally adept at the position, they're going to be fresher too. Not only fresher within that game, but fresher when you get to November and December. So, I guess we're figuring it out. Andy, Coach Orick, is comfortable doing that. A lot of that comes down to your line coach. He's comfortable doing that, which makes me more comfortable doing it.
Sean made a big point about the need to be more vertical in the passing game this season. He talked about it on the Big Ten Network. And so through the first 2 weeks, haven't really seen a whole bunch of it. Where do you pinpoint the biggest issue on that? Is it offensive line? Is it Noah? Is it wide receiver separation? What do you think is the biggest reason for the lack of it?
All the above. The one thing you left out was defensive scheme.
Okay.
If you're throwing a 9 route to the wide out and they roll up on a corner and have a half defender over the top, well, you could throw it, but it might get picked, right? So you look to do that versus single coverage and turn it into a one-on-one battle. We've had a couple of one-on-one battles and haven't come up with the ball, though. So is that the throw? Is that the catch? Everyone's its own situation. And then we've had some where it's called and we didn't have the opportunity to get the ball off because of the protection. But you're right. I'm a big believer in those, I call them flyover yards. When you go throw a deep ball, you fly over a lot of problems, right? A lot of missed blocks, a lot of potential penalties, a lot of bad things. You go right over it. So that's one thing that we do have to do a better job in, for sure.
I think last year we asked you about penalties, and you said that you never want to be up high, but you never want to be right up to the top of the nation. You're there now. Is that okay? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay. My thing when I say that is, I don't want guys, I want guys playing through the whistle, right? So that means you're going hard. And every once in a while, you're going to get a penalty, which is an aggressive penalty. Every once in a while, you're locked up with a guy, you may get a hold. You don't like it, but it may happen. Alignment penalties, offside penalties, those, the self-inflicted wound penalties are the ones that I'm talking about. Right now, I certainly like the way we're handling abiding by the rules, because we're playing really hard. So if we can do that and play really hard, look, I'm not gonna be against it. But that's what I mean when I say that.
Time for 2 more.
I asked you about the backfield, rotation. Just wanted you to expand on it a little bit. Are you more in the line of Pacheco's your starter? You've already said that definitively, but Kyle is going to get more touches, and Aaron. Are you happy with the distribution, 1, and then 2 going forward? Do you ever see going with a bell cow?
Going with
A bell cow, a featured guy?
Again, Keith, I let that play itself out. If somebody becomes that hot that he should just stay in there, then that's what'll happen. But we have good players in the running back room, and I want to make sure that all our good players get a chance to play.
Greg, we haven't seen Patrice Rene. Any update on how close he is?
He's getting better, Bobby. He's getting better. You know, not to get into too many details, but he's healing up, and I'm anxious to see him play because I thought he had a really good spring. And, you know, he didn't have many days of training camp, but the days he had, he did a very nice job as well.
Chris, final question?
Greg, along those lines, sticking with the secondary, you know, how would you assess they played so far, and specifically Max Mellon? He's been around the ball so far this year.
Yeah, I think overall we've played well. We've given up two shots, right? 2 big plays. Our goal is to give up none. But I think we've played aggressively. We've matched up pretty well in man-to-man coverage so far. A couple of zone opportunities. I thought we had opportunities to take the ball out of the air, and we didn't. So hopefully we get improved at that. But overall, I'd say they're playing well. And as you mentioned, Max is, I think, playing at a high level right now. He's doing a good job. So, guys, I appreciate you coming out. Thanks.
Thank you.